Revealed, the amazing turnaround of a young girl who implanted hope. Indiana. A solitary farmer's heart in the small town of Maplewood, the golden cornfields whispered secrets of a better tomorrow. 12-year-old Lily, with her wild curls bouncing in the summer breeze, chased a dream that danced just beyond her reach. A family farm, vibrant and alive, filled with the laughter of her folks. But dark clouds loomed overhead. Her father's struggle to find work left a heaviness in their home, a weight none could shake. On a breezy afternoon, Lily stumbled upon Jack's ramshackle farm at the edge of town. Stories of the once jubilant farmer, his laughter and echo in the fields now barren, had long fueled her imagination. With a heart filled with courage, she approached the creaking wooden gate. What met her eyes was a world grown wild and weary, but she could still see the shimmer of what it once was in its ruins. Jack emerged, a shadow of his former self, eyes clouded with sorrow. He looked at her, a hardened glare crossing his face. "What do you want, kid?" he grumbled. The air felt charged, as if nature itself held its breath. Yet, Lily's spirit didn't falter. "I brought cookies. My mom says they're the best," she declared, holding out a plate decorated with the sweetness of childhood. Jack hesitated, his heart momentarily thawing around the edges. Slowly, he took a cookie, just one, but it melted in his mouth, carrying memories of joy that felt so foreign now. A soft moment, fleeting but powerful. Days turned into weeks, and Lily returned to Jack's farm like a sunbeam breaking through the clouds. They shared cookies, laughter, and stories that built a bridge over their loneliness. Lily spoke of bright futures, Jack, of a love lost too soon. With each visit, their bond grew, a sunflower pushing through cracks in the pavement. But joy is fragile, and soon, whispers crept through Maplewood like a summer storm. The townsfolk were wary, their mundane lives shaken by the reclusive farmer's blossoming friendship with a girl so filled with hope. A town meeting erupted into chaos, voices rising in panic. "Why is she wasting her time with him?" someone shouted. "He's a ghost of what he used to be." Caught in the turmoil, Lily felt torn between Jack and her community. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the dust settled from the commotion, Lily confronted Jack, her heart hammering in her chest. "What are we going to do?" she asked, tears welling up as she realized their newfound friendship was at stake. With a heavy sigh, Jack looked down at the ground, the weight of his grief mingling with the fear of change. "I don't know if I can face them, Lily," he admitted, his voice cracking. The air felt thick as both felt the chasm of uncertainty lay before them. Could their unlikely friendship withstand the judgment of a community steeped in tradition? As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing Maplewood in hues of uncertainty, they stood at a crossroads. A choice lingered in the air, one that could shatter or unite their small town's heart. Lily's heart raced as Jack's words hung in the air, heavy like the clouds above. She couldn't bear the thought of losing him or their special friendship over the whispers that circled like vultures ready to pick at old wounds. "But Jack, what if we show them?" she urged, her eyes wide with determination. "What if we tell them what we've created together? People can change their minds." Jack's brow furrowed deeper, the shadows on his face matching the clouds rolling in. "You don't understand, Lily. They won't see me as a person. They only see what I used to be, the man who lost everything. What if we show them the farm, what it can become? You've been planting seeds of change. Maybe we organize a gathering, a festival." The words tumbled out of Lily's mouth, a flood of hope pressing her forward. "We can invite everyone. They'll see the corn growing, the beauty in the fields. They'll see you," she added gently. Jack hesitated, his heart wrestling with the fear of exposure. Should he allow the world back into his life? "I've been hiding for so long," he said quietly, as if admitting a deep secret. "But hiding won't bring the past back," Lily replied, her voice soft yet resolute. "Your farm has a chance, and so do you. You're not just memories, Jack. You're here, now, and we can make something beautiful together." For a moment, Jack searched her eyes, looking for a flicker of doubt but finding none. The innocence in Lily's courage warmed the chilled corners of his heart. It reminded him of the days when laughter filled his home, before the shadows descended. The thought of a gathering lingered in the back of his mind, swirling with both excitement and dread. "We would need a lot of help," he muttered eventually, nervously running a weathered hand through his hair. "I can ask my mom, and we can get the whole town involved," she exclaimed, her smile brightening the gray atmosphere around them. "We can grow together." Days turned into plans as they mapped out the festival in the crumbling barn, drawing sketches and writing lists. With each moment spent together, Jack began to feel a flicker of hope ignite inside him. Lily breathed life back into his spirit, the dull ache within him dimming, even if just a little, but as the day of the festival approached and excitement swelled, so did the murmurs. Some townsfolk whispered about it being just a fool's errand. What could a weary farmer and a bright-eyed girl possibly change? On the day of the event, as the sun peered through the clouds, Lily and Jack stood side by the entrance of the farm, watching the first few guests arrive. Nervousness flickered in Jack's chest, but Lily's hand grasped his tightly. "We can do this, right?" she whispered. "I hope so," he breathed, barely audible, swallowed by the rising tide of people. Just then, the town sheriff, a figure of authority and tradition, strode toward them, a scowl lingering on his lips. Jack felt his heart sink, the shadow of doubt creeping back in. Would this be their moment to shine or their moment of truth? As the crowd swelled, hushed conversations buzzed like bees, each word slicing through the air. The moment had arrived. How would they receive the first glimpse of hope? Was this the day everything would change, or would fear and prejudice loom larger than the seeds of transformation? Jack's heart raced as he caught sight of the sheriff approaching. The tension between them felt palpable, a drumbeat of anxiety echoing in his ears. Lily's grip on his hand was like a lifeline, tethering him to courage even as his mind spiraled into doubt. "Jack," Lily spoke softly, her eyes unwavering. "Whatever happens, we're in this together." The sheriff stopped a few paces away, his gaze sweeping over the gathered crowd. Jack's breath hitched, thoughts flashing back to his past, the mistakes, the accusations, the whispers. "What are you doing here, Sheriff?" Jack asked, his voice low but steady, trying to sound braver than he felt. The sheriff studied the crowd, a mix of familiar faces and new ones. "I came to see what this is all about," he replied, a hint of skepticism woven into his tone. "Don't expect everyone to roll out the welcome mat just because you're throwing a party, Jack." Lily stepped forward. "This is more than a party. It's about community, about healing. Jack has worked hard to change. The farm can be a symbol, a sign of renewal." Jack clenched his teeth. Did she really think they could see past his past? He wanted to believe in her vision. He wanted to believe in them. But the memories clawed at him. Around them, the early guests started mingling, laughter spilling into the air like sparkles of hope. Vendors set up booths, showcasing local crafts and fresh produce. Children darted between tables, their joy infectious. Jack let the warmth of their laughter wrap around him, even as doubt cast a shadow in his heart. "Let us get started." A voice rang out, and the event coordinator took the stage. Lily nudged Jack gently. "We need to show them," she said. "Take a deep breath." As the music began, Lily and Jack moved among the crowd. Some townsfolk stole glances, wary but curious. Others offered kind smiles, and Jack wondered if they saw the man he was becoming, or were still stuck on who he had been. "Hey, Jack!" called out a familiar voice. It was Martha, their neighbor, waving while juggling 2 plates of food. "Nice to see you out here. The corn looks incredible." Jack blinked in surprise. The words were like sunlight breaking through the clouds. Thanks, Martha. It's been a team effort. He gestured to the rows of corn that stood proud in the field. Looks like you've worked hard, she replied, her voice warm, and the glimmer of support in her eyes made the weight on his chest begin to lift. As the afternoon wore on, the mood shifted. People gathered around the barn, drawn in by the smell of baked goods and the sounds of laughter. Jack noticed small groups forming, sharing stories, laughter drifting through the air like the gentle sway of the corn, but just when he felt his heart starting to swell, a gruff voice broke through the joy. Why are we wasting our time with him? It was Victor, a loud critic of Jack's past who stood with a small band of disapproving friends. You all can't honestly believe he has changed. An awkward silence followed, eyes darting between Jack and Victor. Fear gripped Jack, clawing at the courage that Lily had fought so hard to build. People don't just change overnight, Victor continued, his voice loud and cutting. You all are just falling for a pretty face and a sob story. Jack felt the blush of shame rising to his cheeks, the accusation stinging. The laughter faded, uncertainty creeping into the gathering like a shadow. Would they all turn away now? But just then, Lily stepped forward again, unflinching. No, she said clearly, her voice shaking slightly but firm. You don't know what he has been through, and you don't know what this farm means, not just for him but for all of us. We're all here, aren't we? That says something. Jack's chest swelled with pride and admiration for Lily. Could her light truly shine through the murky waters of doubt? Would Jack find strength in her belief as more townsfolk started to murmur support? Maybe I haven't changed overnight, Jack spoke, finding his voice, emboldened by Lily's spirit. But I'm here now, and I want to grow, for all of us together. His words seemed to hang in the air, a plea mixed with determination. Would they accept him? Would they embrace this newfound hope, or were they too tethered to the past? In that moment, the vitality of the farm pulsed around them, but above all, a greater question lingered. Would the festival be a beginning, or would fear snuff out the flame they were trying to ignite? Lily's hope filled the space between them, but even as they faced the crowd, doubts loomed larger than life. Was their moment of change about to unfold, or would it shatter all they had built? The murmur of the crowd swelled, a wave of uncertainty lapping at Jack's resolve. He could feel the weight of Victor's words pressing down, threatening to shatter the fragile moment they had all built. A knot twisted in his stomach, and he glanced at Lily. Her eyes were fierce, filled with an unwavering belief that he struggled to grasp. Come on, folks. We've got great food and local fun. The event coordinator called out, attempting to redirect the energy. Jack heard the music start back up, but it felt distant, like it belonged to another world. He took a deep breath and felt Lily's fingers tighten around his hand, grounding him. Why don't you show them what you've got? She encouraged, her voice a soothing whisper. Just be honest. He knew what that meant. Jack stepped forward, drawing the attention of the curious onlookers. The laughter and chatter faded, replaced by a tense silence that felt as heavy as lead. I know I have a past, he began, his voice tremulous but steady. I've made mistakes, and I can't change what has already happened. But I can show you who I am today. A few faces softened, the hard lines of skepticism starting to fade. This farm isn't just mine anymore. It's ours. I want to grow it with all of you, share it with our community. I need your help. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat urging him on. I've seen firsthand what loss can do, but together, we can create something beautiful. We can help each other, lift each other up. One of Victor's friends scoffed, arms crossed, but others began to murmur agreements. Jack pushed down the knot of fear in his gut and went on. The corn, the tomatoes, all the hard work we've put in, it's a reminder that we're capable of change. Every seed we plant represents hope. He could see some faces beginning to shine with understanding, while Victor shifted uneasily, his frown deepening. And if you can take a chance on me, on this farm, I promise you won't regret it. We can build a legacy, one that offers second chances, not just to me, but to all of us. The crowd stirred, eyes darting between Jack and Lily. Jack's heart raced, a mixture of hope and sudden vulnerability. As he finished, silence hung in the air, the weight of his words settling over everyone. Would they embrace what he was offering? His breath hitched as he met Lily's gaze. Her encouraging smile felt like a beacon, urging him to believe. Then, slowly, a hand went up. Martha again, her voice cutting through the stillness. I believe in second chances, Jack. I always have. If nobody else can, I'll stand by you. A ripple of murmurs moved through the crowd. Heads turned, and more voices joined Martha's, sharing their own struggles, their hopes for change. Jack felt a warmth swell in his chest as support began to lift him. Each word spoken felt like stepping stones to solid ground beneath his feet, but Victor, still standing at the edge, wasn't he ready to back down? You really think they'll forget the past just like that? His voice rang out, sharp and accusatory. You think you can just start over? Jack braced himself, unsure whether the hope he'd begun to feel would withstand the harsh reality Victor could unleash. Would the crowd hold on to this fragile moment of growth in face of dissent? As eyes turned back to him, Jack's heart raced once more. The path ahead was about to be determined, and he could feel the weight of all those gazes, some full of hope, others glimmering with doubt. Knowing that one moment could change their fates, he took a step forward, ready to face Victor, ready to fight not just for himself, but for Lily, and for all that their future could hold. Maybe it's time we start believing in each other, not just the past, Jack declared, voice steady. Would they rally behind him, or would this moment slip away, lost forever? Jack felt the tension in the air thicken, wrapping around him like a heavy fog. He could sense the eyes of the crowd bore into him, waiting for a sign. He clenched his fists at his sides, feeling a spark of courage ignite within him. This was more than just a speech, it was a lifeline thrown to a sinking ship. You're right, Victor, he shot back, his voice rising above the hum of uncertainty. I can't erase the past. But I can change the future. We all can. Gasps fluttered through the crowd. For a brief moment, Victor looked taken aback, as if Jack had slapped him in the face. Jack hoped he had. Lily's grip on his hand tightened. From the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of her approving nod. Encouragement surged through him. This was it. He could feel the crowd shifting, the naysayers caught in the tide of growing support. A man in the front row, older and with kind eyes, stood up. You want to build something real here, Jack? I'm in. We all should be. The fire of community ignited, whispering through the crowd as more people began to rise, emboldened by the man's strength. Jack felt a wave of realization wash over him. This wasn't just his battle anymore. It was theirs, too. Victor stood unmoving, a storm cloud amidst the sunshine blooming around Jack. You think just a few heartfelt words will turn everything around? He challenged, his skepticism pouring like rain. You think these people will forget what you've done? And you think they don't have their own stories? Jack replied, his own voice rising in pitch, half pleading, half demanding. We all carry burdens. But we can choose how they define us. We can choose to move forward. Applause, tentative at first, then growing louder, rippled through the crowd. Each clap, each rising voice, felt like a beautiful drumbeat in his chest, pushing back against Victor's shadows. Suddenly, the memories that haunted him began to fade, eclipsed by the very light of hope he was trying to ignite. He could see it, the shift, the change. The community rallied behind him. Then, everything halted as a calm voice broke the thunderous noise. It was Martha again, her gentle air commanding attention. Jack, she started, stepping forward. You've already faced your past. I've watched you fight for this farm and for those who work it, even when the odds were stacked against you. We believe in second chances. We believe in you. Her words acted like a key in a rusty lock. More people nodded, words of affirmation blending into one another, filling the air with joy. We'll help you. Let us work together. It's time for new beginnings. Jack's heart soared. Victor's face darkened, anger flickering across his features like a sudden windstorm. This isn't over, Jack, he barked, voice edged with bitterness. You think you can just erase me from your life? Maybe not, Jack responded, meeting Victor's glare with newfound determination. But I'm ready to move on. And so are they. The volume from the crowd renewed, washing over the confrontation. Jack stood tall, realizing, for the first time, that the power of community was surging behind him. He had found a family among them, a collective battle cry resonating with hope, but deep down, as the cheers of support swelled around him, a lingering question began to claw at his mind. Would Victor retaliate? Would he lash out in his desperation? Jack felt the hope he had rallied begin to intertwine with fear, the weight of uncertainty tugging at his heart once more. As the energy built, Jack's thoughts raced. He knew they'd have to prepare for whatever Victor might throw next. But in that moment of unity, Jack felt something he had long thought lost, belief. What would it take to keep this belief alive in the face of adversity? How could they protect the fragile hope that had just begun to bloom? The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows as the crowd began to disperse, their spirits high. Jack felt a rush of energy flooding through him, but the undercurrent of worry still tugged relentlessly at his heart. The moment had been electrifying, yet Victor's words echoed in his mind, threatening to rain on the parade of hope. Lily squeezed his hand tighter, pulling him out of his thoughts. You did it, Jack. They really believe in you, she beamed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I know, he replied, but his smile faltered. But what now? We can't just hope for the best. She tilted her head, concern knitting her brow. You're going to fight, aren't you? You've always been a fighter. Jack nodded slowly, the reality of it sinking in. They needed a plan, a strategy to turn their words into action. We need to come together, he said, scanning the crowd that had once felt so distant and intimidating. Organize. Make sure everyone feels included in this, he added with rising conviction. As the last few stragglers made their way to their cars, Jack felt an unfamiliar sense of purpose bubble up. He turned to the people who remained, those still hanging on to the vibrating energy left in the air. Let us meet tomorrow, he called out, his voice steady and strong. We can start building something real. A vision for our future. Cheers rang out, and Jack relished the momentum behind his words. They began to clamor for ideas, all willing to contribute to a plan. He soared through the discussions, breathing life into the ideas everyone proposed. One man wanted to create a cooperative for local farmers to pool their resources. Two women expressed a need for workshops to teach sustainable farming techniques to young kids. An elderly couple shared hopes of revitalizing the community garden that had fallen into disrepair. Jack felt their energy wrap around him, surgery on his hope, fixing the cracks Victor's words had carved, but even as excitement grew, Jack's mind swirled with doubts. What if Victor spread lies about their initiative? What if he sabotaged their meetings? The bitterness of Victor's past actions loomed large, monstrous in Jack's imagination. We can't let fear dictate our future, he said finally, rallying the group again. If we all stand together, if every voice matters, we can thrive. With their spirits lifted, people began planning. Tasks were assigned, and they were off to spread the word. Jack felt part of something much bigger than himself, a tapestry of dreams and resilience woven together. As he spent the evening sketching out plans at his kitchen table, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Victor was still out there, lurking. Jack's heart raced as he worried about the potential damage Victor could do. Lily, leaning against the doorway, watched him. What are you thinking? She asked softly. Just Victor. He's not going to sit back and let this happen. Jack glanced up, meeting her gaze, fear creeping back in. We have to be ready for anything. Together, we're strong. Remember that, she said, her voice a soothing balm. Jack nodded, yet the gnawing anxiety remained. Was this renewed belief enough to withstand whatever storm Victor might unleash? As the moon rose, Jack stared out of the window. The darkness outside was deeper than the night sky. But beneath that darkness, flames of hope flickered fiercely, promising light. What would Victor's next move be? Would they be ready when it came? With the sun barely breaking the horizon, casting a soft golden hue, Jack felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. He had hardly slept, his mind racing through countless scenarios about Victor. Each tick of the clock echoed his unease, but the thought of the rally ahead stirred a flicker of hope within him. Lily was already up, her fingers dancing over a pot of coffee. "Ready for today?" she asked, pouring a cup and handing it to him. "Ready or not, here we go," Jack replied, trying to muster enthusiasm that felt just out of reach. They arrived at the community center, a modest building that had seen better days but now hummed with potential. As they opened the doors, Jack could see people filing in, faces reflecting a mix of optimism and trepidation. It filled him with comfort to see old friends and new faces alike coming together. "Look at all of them," Lily whispered, gently squeezing his arm. Jack inhaled deeply. "Yeah, we're really doing this." As the meeting began, Jack stood at the front, heart pounding but voice steady. "Thank you all for coming. We've spoken about dreams, but today we turn those dreams into actions. We will be the change this community needs." Applause erupted, but even as he spoke, doubts clouded his mind. Had he underestimated Victor? Would fear round up its army and shatter their efforts before they even began? Ideas flew around the room, vibrant and hopeful. Each suggestion took root, budding into plans to combat Victor's looming threat. A woman proposed a neighborhood watch to keep an eye out for any disruptions. Another voiced interest in social media outreach to gain wider support. Jack felt the pulse of determination course through them, all of it feeding into his own. But then, the door swung open, and Victor strolled in, a smug smile plastered on his face. The room fell silent, and Jack's heart dropped. Victor's presence was a storm cloud, and Jack could almost see it swirling in the eyes of the crowd. He took a breath, refusing to let fear dictate his response. "Not too late to back down, Jack," Victor called out, his voice dripping with mockery. "You think you can change things here? You're just dreaming." Jack straightened, anger igniting within him. "No one's backing down, Victor. We're standing firm for our community's future." Murmurs erupted among the crowd, a few expressions of support faced Victor's venomous glare. The shift in energy was palpable, the crowd began to rally around Jack. "We can stand together," he continued, voice stronger, "and we can fight for the community we deserve." Victor's smile faltered slightly, but he quickly masked it with a smirk. "We'll see about that," he retorted, before turning away. The tension slowly eased, and with his opponent's retreat, Jack felt a renewed spirit among his supporters. They planned, strategized, their voices weaving together into something powerful. Moments passed like minutes, the clock spinning as they outlined canvassing routes and created posters for their cause. After a whirlwind of ideas, as the meeting came to an end, Jack stepped outside, where the clear sky hung above him. He felt a connection with the community, real, tangible and vibrant. Lily joined him, her eyes shimmering with excitement. "You did it, Jack. You stood up to him." Jack managed a smile, although another thought gnawed at him. But what happens when he retaliates? What will he do next? He felt the weight of uncertainty settle back in. As they watched the crowd disperse, a sense of impending confrontation lingered like a thick fog on the horizon. "We're ready for whatever he throws at us," Lily said firmly, sensing his uncertainty. "Are we?" Jack whispered, doubt creeping back in as they headed home. The day had started with hope, but the storm was just beginning. Would they stand united when the real battle came? What strategy could they employ against Victor's inevitable move? The next morning, the sun peeked through the curtains, but Jack felt like a weight was still linked to his soul. The undeniable reality of Victor's shadow loomed, dark and unsettling. He sat at the breakfast table, staring into his coffee cup, as if the swirling liquid might reveal the answer to all his questions. Lily walked in, her usual cheer dulled by the worry etched on Jack's face. "You look like you haven't slept at all," she said gently, pouring herself a cup. Jack chuckled hollowly. "Yeah, well, you know how it is. Big dreams come with even bigger nightmares." "Let's not let him win," Lily countered, her tone firm. "We need to stay focused. Planning starts today. We can't let fear take over." He nodded, appreciating her determination, yet doubt clung to him like a second skin. They had talked of being the change, but what did that really mean against someone like Victor? Hours later, they convened with their small team at a local park, the air charged with anticipation. A whiteboard stood at the center, filled with scribbles and bright ideas designed to combat Victor's influence. Each idea was a step toward hope, but even as Jack took his place at the forefront, the crowd's eagerness didn't quell the storm brewing inside him. "Today," he began, looking into the faces that stared back, some hopeful, others fearful. "Today we set the plan in motion. Together, we can become a force. We will take our message to the streets." The group erupted into applause, but Jack noticed the flickering doubt in some eyes. His heart was heavy. As they broke into small groups to spread the word, Lily guided the canvassing team. She could see Jack's uneasiness creeping back, and leaned closer. "Everything's gonna be okay. Trust in what we've built." But Jack's mind was consumed by thoughts of Victor. Confrontation was inevitable. Would they crumble at the first sign of aggression? Would he emerge as a victorious puppeteer, yanking their strings under the guise of intimidation? They walked the streets, passing by homes filled with hopes and dreams. The sun cast bright shadows as people paused to listen. Jack felt a surprisingly warm connection with the neighbors, each conversation igniting small flames of courage within him. With each signature on the petition, he felt the collective heartbeat of the community, a heartbeat that resonated against the darkness. But then, amidst this spark of hope, the unmistakable figure of Victor appeared across the street. Jack's breath caught in his throat. Victor stood there, arms crossed, flanked by his own group of followers bearing signs against their initiative. "See!" Victor yelled, a smirk plastered on his face. "You're wasting your time. Nobody cares." The crowd felt the unease ripple through them, doubt flirting with their courage. Jack stepped forward, though fear twisted like a knife in his gut. "Hear us out!" he shouted back. "We care. We want to make a difference." Victor's laughter echoed like a high-pitched alarm, slicing through the confident facade Jack tried to maintain. "You think you can change hearts with empty words? How naive." In that moment of silence that followed, Jack couldn't help but wonder. Was Victor right? Were they deluding themselves in believing they could foster change? As the tension thickened, Lily's voice broke through the silence. "We are more than just words. We are a community. A family." Jack watched her, her passion melted the worry simmering inside him. Maybe it wasn't just him fighting against Victor, maybe together, they could make a stand. Spurred by her confidence, Jack shouted, "We will not be silenced. We fight for every single one of you who dreams of a better tomorrow." A swell of voices joined him, louder and more defiant than before. Jack felt the tide lift, and for a brief moment, he believed they could turn the tide against Victor's manufactured dominance. As Victor sneered, Jack clutched Lily's hand tightly, the warmth fueling his fire. Yet, the question remained as they turned and walked forward. How much longer could they hold their ground before the waves of doubt washed over them again? They had ignited something powerful today, but would it be enough to withstand the darkness that Victor promised was coming? The next morning dawned, a stark contrast to the storm stirring within Jack. The sun lit the sky, but the warmth felt distant, just as hope often seemed. He rubbed his eyes, still heavy from the day before's turmoil. It was a new day, but Victor's words echoed in his ears, "Nobody cares." He reluctantly picked up his phone, scrolling through messages of support from their growing network. They were all eager to help, but the question still gnawed at him: would this energy hold? Would they truly change anything? Lily burst into his thoughts, her voice unwavering. We can't let him get to us, Jack. We need to regroup. People are counting on us, she had said yesterday, folding up her sleeves to get to work. Today, he needed to channel that determination. Jack met Lily at the park again, where they had held their first meeting. Together, they set up tables, armed with pamphlets and smiles, ready to draw out the crowd again. As the sun climbed higher, townspeople drifted in, drawn by curiosity and a hint of rebellion. The atmosphere was different today, charged with a reluctant hope. Jack felt it pulse through him as they exchanged ideas and learned of the small steps taken since yesterday. Jack! A familiar voice called. It was Mrs. Thompson, an elderly neighbor with a sparkle in her eye. I brought some cookies for the team. She handed him a tin, her hands shaking a little from age. Thanks, Mrs. T. They'll fuel us up for sure. He replied with a genuine smile, buoyed by her kindness. As people gathered, emboldened by each shared story of hope and fear, Jack began to feel a shift. He glanced at Lily, who was talking passionately to a half-circle of listeners. Every word seemed to wrap around them like a warm embrace. He stepped forward, feeling that familiar surge of responsibility. Listen up, everyone. He called, rallying their attention. We're here because we care. Because this community matters. Victor may think he can intimidate us into silence, but we know that together we're stronger than any threat he poses. Nods and murmurs of agreement surged from the crowd, igniting that spark inside him. But just as he began to feel invincible, a familiar figure appeared at the edge of the park. Victor, flanked by his followers. The sneer on his face sent a chill through the crowd, and the air thickened once more with anxiety. Really? Victor called out, his mockery dripping with disdain. You think you can win a battle with a few cookies and empty promises? You're nothing. Jack felt a pit form in his stomach. There was a tightness in the air, a palpable tension that faded the bright colors of the day. It was as if Victor's presence drained the sunlight, casting a shadow over them all, but then he remembered Mrs. Thompson's warmth, the cookies shared in support, the neighbors who believed in something greater. It's not just about me. Jack shouted back, his heart racing. It's about us. We choose to stand together against fear. If we lose our voices, we lose our strength. Lily stepped forward, her hand raised in defiance. You think you know us, Victor? You don't. We're a community of families, of hearts united. The crowd began to cheer, a swell of righteous anger rising within them. Jack's gaze locked onto Victor's for a fleeting moment, filled with a mix of fear and defiance. But once again, uncertainty gripped his heart. What if this wasn't enough? What if a single evening of courage couldn't defend against Victor's onslaught? As Victor's sneer morphed into a snarl, Jack couldn't shake the encroaching fear. They had ignited a flame, but help was fleeting, and the darker storm churned on the horizon. Would their newfound spirit stand firm when the rain fell? With Victor hovering like a storm cloud, the next move was weighing heavily on Jack's mind. Would it lead to victory or back into the shadows? The day of uncertainty had arrived, and Jack stood at the center of the park, surrounded by friends and neighbors. A mix of excitement and anxiety churned in his gut. Today was about more than just words, it was a fight for their future. Lily, beaming with the bright light of hope, was right there by his side, her unwavering spirit lifting Jack's heart. We are a family, she whispered, squeezing his hand. Let us show them who we are. As the crowd swelled, Jack took a deep breath and faced Victor with renewed determination. You think you can scare us into silence? He called out, his voice strong. We've spent too long letting fear dictate our lives. Gasps swept through the gathering as he continued, his pulse racing. Today, we reclaim our voices and stand together. A murmur of agreement rolled through the crowd. People nodded, their eyes shining with resolve. And yet, Victor stood there, arms crossed, smirking with disdain. Empty promises and loud voices won't change a thing. You're still just a bunch of dreamers. But Jack felt the tide shifting within him, fueled by the collective heartbeat of the community that surrounded him. Dreamers. He echoed, surprising himself with his fervor. Yes. We are dreamers. Dreamers who have the power to turn those dreams into reality. What we seek isn't just a farm or a festival, we seek a life filled with hope and connection. Lily stepped forward, her eyes fierce as she addressed Victor and the crowd. This isn't just Jack's fight. This is ours. Every single person here plays a role in weaving the fabric of our community. Jack could see Victor's confidence starting to waver. A few townsfolk murmured words of support, lifting Jack's spirit as he felt the shared strength among them. You might not believe in us, Victor, and that's fine. But we believe in each other. He shouted, letting the burning hope fill his voice. We will rise together, and will build something beautiful from the ashes of doubt. The crowd erupted in cheers, a wave of sound crashing over the park, drowning out Victor's sneering. For the first time, Jack felt the weight of fear begin to lift, replaced with something powerful, a bond that was forming among them. And regarding your past, it doesn't define my future, Jack proclaimed boldly, meeting Victor's angry eyes. Look around. Look at these people. He gestured broadly. There's strength in our connections. The cornfields, the tomatoes, the friendships we forge, we can't be silenced. Jack caught sight of Mrs. Thompson, a proud smile gracing her face. It ignited a spark in him. They weren't just fighting for their present, they were planting seeds for the future. As people joined hands, the energy surged, a whirlwind of determination spiraling around them. Victor, clearly shaken, attempted to regain control. You'll regret this, Jack. You think your little gathering can change how we feel about you? Jack's heart thundered, but instead of fear, he felt an exhilarating rush. Maybe you can't see the truth, Victor, but it's here, and it's beautiful. You can't erase the love we share or the impact we'll have, he fired back, feeling Lily's hand squeeze his. As they united, the crowd erupted into a chant, a rhythmic affirmation of their resolve. Together. 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 It was as if the very air shimmered with hope, lifting Jack's spirits as he glanced at Lily. Her face lit up with pride, and just like that, in that moment, everything shifted. Jack felt exhilaration racing through his veins as they stood hand in hand against their doubts and insecurities. It was all about family, friendship, and empowerment. This was their community together, they could achieve anything. Victor's confident facade was starting to crumble. He backed away slightly, his bravado fading. This isn't over, he called defiantly, but the shrill sound of his voice faded as the crowd drowned him out. Just wait. Jack's heart soared, and he realized he wasn't afraid anymore. Bound by mutual respect and love, the people of Maplewood had made their choice. This was just the beginning of their journey, a rekindling of life, laughter, and community spirit. Lily's face shone with joy, her eyes glistening with tears of happiness. We did it. Look at them. Look at us. She exclaimed, each word bursting forth like the vibrant colors of spring flowers. Jack took a moment to absorb the transformation. We really did, he whispered, heart swelling. We're truly alive again. With newfound determination, they turned away from Victor, focusing instead on one another, embracing the promise of togetherness. This was a celebration of hope and faith. Today was not an end, it was only the beginning, the dawn of brighter days ahead. As they walked back toward the heart of the festival, Jack turned his gaze toward the horizon. Deep within, he knew they had planted the seeds of lasting change, and together, there was nothing they couldn't achieve. They were a new force, a community reborn. This was the power of coming together, the pure magic of unity, and the legacy of hope they would carry onward. If you're feeling inspired by this story of transformation and community, now is the time to take action. subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will move your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for our community of dreamers. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending, and don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and take a stand in their own lives. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let your voice be heard.